Hi there, this is MC Oda and welcome to episode 2 of the Archaeology Challenge. In the first episode, we excavated this archaeological dig site. And now it's time to start getting into it and seeing what these structures are, start cleaning them up a little bit and seeing if we can start recreating them. Alright, so let's get in here. So, final interpretation of course will come at the end, but I can still get a feel for what these buildings are and maybe how they were built as we're going through this. Already I feel like I'm getting a feel for what some of these buildings are. So let's start... Let's start with something easy, like over here. Okay? To me, this section right here looks like a cluster of small houses. Okay, these look like residential houses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. Okay? That looks like a separate structure there. So let's start with these. So, looking at these, just from what we can see, the cobblestone looks like the walls. Like I mentioned in the first episode, this packed mud, at first I was thinking could have been floors, but then I started seeing this sandstone down here hidden up underneath some of it. So I'm feeling like the floors of these were probably sandstone, and that this packed mud was most likely either walls or roofs. I say either walls or roofs because I feel like the walls were this cobblestone. That feels pretty obvious to me, but they're also they're all very short. So it could be that maybe the foundation of them was cobblestone, and then it was packed mud on top of that. So you're going to see this packed mud thing going on in a lot of these. You're going to see it over here, and you're going to see it over here, and over here. That seemed to be a very common building material in this ruins. But I want to talk about packed mud real quick. Over here, it's all packed mud. And that could just indicate that this was maybe, being residential. Maybe these were the lower class workers. These could, the serfs and stuff. Or whatever structure they had in the time of this building. Over here you see some of them are actual bricks and some of them are packed mud. So I'm kind of interpreting this two ways. Well, let's see. It could be that they use packed mud for one thing and bricks for something else. So for example, like maybe the packed mud is walls and the bricks were roofs or something of that nature. But I was also thinking about another interpretation of this, or another possible interpretation of this. And work with me here. I'm going to fly over here, just out of the ruins. So here's what I'm thinking, right? You got mud bricks. This isn't a mineral. This isn't stone, right? This is mud packed with some kind of filler. I think in the case of this game, it's wheat. And then baked until it's nice and hard. But being that its base components are actually just mud and organic material, I feel like over time it would start decaying into eventually dirt, right? So I kind of feel like over time these bricks would break down into packed mud. Oh, let me say goodbye to... See ya. Let me say goodbye to Harold. So as I was saying, I feel like over time these bricks would break down into the packed mud and of course the organic materials that was used to pack with it, and then eventually that would decay into dirt over given enough time. So that's another possible interpretation of what's going on here. So I don't really know yet how to interpret that. So I'm going to collect materials. I'll still collect them separately and see what we have, but I'm not sure yet how to interpret that. And the fact that these buildings have no bricks that we've seen so far, and those buildings do, I'm actually now feeling like my first thing that I said might be more correct. It might be something like the packed mud is used for walls, and then the bricks are used for roofs, something like that. Okay, so let me get started with basically clearing the debris. So I need to see more of these buildings. So I'm going to start with clearing out this packed mud. And I don't want to lose track of my materials, so I put myself in survival mode, and I'm going to use the proper tools to pick these things up. And what I'm going to do is I'm kind of keeping these... so I'm trying to fly. I think I'm still in creative. I'm gonna try to color code these buildings, essentially. So all the material that I take out of... I'm considering this block of houses one quote-unquote building. So I'm going to put everything from there into a yellow shulker. And then I'm going to consider this whole thing... Well, there I am trying to fly again. Let me hop on top. At first I was thinking this was one building, but now I'm thinking it's actually two. I'm thinking it's one building kind of from here over, and then one building from here over. So I'm thinking I'm going to put stuff from this side in an orange shulker, and stuff from this side in a red shulker. Okay, so let me well, let me go ahead and put this. Oh, do I have... Well, I'm so used to being in creative. And let me go ahead and just put this up here on the road so it's kind of more prominent there. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start clearing some debris, and we'll see what's underneath all of this packed mud. Okay, well, I have cleared out the packed mud from these two buildings, or at least building areas. I did find a few things underneath, not too much, but they were kind of interesting. So let me show you. So over here in this, let me get a little bird's eye view here. So in this cluster of what I originally said houses, again, I'm not sure what their use is, whether they're houses or not. These little buildings, this little cluster of 6 little buildings. One of the, there was a piece of bamboo down here. Don't know what that is. Not sure how to interpret that yet. It was the only one like that over here. But in this area, I found another one in this room here. So I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. That could possibly indicate that the mud bricks were walls and that the roof could have been bamboo. And pretty much all of it decayed over time, except for the few pieces that were sufficiently buried up underneath other materials. So I'll have to think about that. And a couple other things of interest I found a few villager workbenches and stuff, or appliances. I found a wood-burning stove here. I'm sorry, wood-burning stove. Oh my gosh, a smoker. And let's see, I found a barrel over here. And before you get too excited, it was empty. No cool treasure. Over here, I found a loom. In this one right here. Now this right here, I found very, very, very interesting. There was a nice preserved oak log up underneath the mud, the packed mud over here. So what that's telling me is that there were oak logs used in these buildings, or at least in this building, or one of these two. And there were bamboo slabs used in these buildings. Probably both of these. So, So now I have to figure out, before I reconstruct these, what then all of these materials mean. Yeah, so that'll be interesting. So, but I'm going to move on from those, and I'm going to continue the cleanup. I think I'm going to move on to these buildings here. Now, again, these silly things are getting in my way. Ay. Okay, so again, all of these buildings over here have packed mud and mud bricks. I'm not convinced that all of these are roofs. If I come over here, this is starting to feel pretty intentional right here. This is starting to feel like maybe these mud bricks were used as walls, or some kind of support structure. And again, here it's hard to tell if these are roofs or walls. It's hard to see what's really up underneath them, so I won't really know till I've cleared them out. And same over here with these and these. This is feeling way more intentional here, especially with these right here. That feels very intentional. But I think for all of these buildings, I'm going to go ahead now. I'm not just clearing these out willy-nilly. I mean, well, I am. But I have basically, I know what they looked like before I started removing these materials. So because of that, I feel safe removing these materials, and then I can go reference those pictures afterwards to see exactly where they were if I feel like their positioning is important. First, I'm going to remove the packed mud, see what I see with the way that the bricks are laid out, if they are laid out in any kind of pattern, looking like wall supports or anything. And then, and then I'll get back with you. So I'll see you in a minute. Alrighty now, so I have cleared out all of the buildings of the packed mud. I think in this one, in this case, there was none. Okay. Also, I kind of did the same thing with the deep slate tiles that were scattered amongst all three of these white buildings, or I'm assuming this is one building, so this building and this building. Assuming that those black deep slate tiles were roofing material, so I actually pulled those out of those as well. So now let me see what we have and some conclusions that I'm coming to here. So now this is what we have. Now this is just the mud bricks that are in place. At first I was thinking maybe, like in this case, cobblestone and stuff were the walls, and that mud brick could have been the roofs. I'm leaning away from that thought now at this point. And let me explain why. So, let's see. First of all, we found a few wood materials here. We found an oak log. Not sure why it's a log. But again, I told you that we found the bamboo. Those could potentially have been roofing materials that have decayed over time. I'm thinking now that these bricks are walls, because if I look at this one in particular, this here, this is starting to feel to me like an open kind of gazebo-ish type of thing, and it feels like this could have been like wall pieces on top of this, like a pillar. This could have been a pillar on top of this. This could have been a pillar on top of that. That could have been a pillar on top of that. So these are feeling more like walls to me. Not sure where all those would have come from. We'll ignore those. And also, it's a lot of material. And this one is feeling... And all of the foundation bricks, the cobblestone here, deep slate here, or deep slate cobble here, they're all one brick tall. There is not one single case of those being more than one brick tall. So I feel like those are foundation and these are walls. I did find one peculiar thing over here. This bothers me. Right here. Not sure why a furnace is sitting on top of what would have been a broken wall piece. Unless this furnace could have been up on a shelf or something. I don't know what's going on with that. But to continue with my theory of the roofs being wood, we do have like random oak plank here that was underneath some of the debris. And over here, let's see, sorry if you hear that loud car going by. Over here, we have oak slabs, right? That were found as inside the sus gravel. So I feel like there's a lot more wood planks and stuff used than of course what we see, and I think those could have been the roofs. Again, here I'm leaning towards the oak. I'm sorry. That's that oak. That's spruce. That's spruce. Here I didn't see really any wooden materials. Yeah. See here we got some spruce planks here that fell down. So I'm starting to feel like the roofs were wood, and that all of this stone brick were the walls. And I'm still kind of leaning towards that packed mud being decayed bricks. Now I don't like the fact that everything in these were packed mud. These are a mix between packed mud and brick. I'm still not sure what's going on with that, because I don't think the packed mud would have been strong enough to be a supportive wall unless it was baked into bricks. Okay, now with all that said, I think I'm going to assume that these mud bricks are wall material, and I'm going to go ahead and remove those, and then we can get a better look at the floors and stuff of these buildings. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, so now I've finished cleaning up all of the mud bricks as well, and these buildings are really starting to take shape behind me. So let me pull up in the air, and you can really see that it's really appearing like we're seeing the shapes of these buildings. A couple of these mud bricks, I did leave these few in place because that felt like an architectural detail that I didn't want to lose. But it's really starting to look like the footprint of these walls here are these foundation blocks, and that those mud bricks were probably the walls. And you can see that this stone is probably the floor material. In this case, the cobblestone is probably broken up stone. Let's see. Now let's move over to this building. This looks really clean. This looks like this entire floor was granite. And I'm still not sure why this furnace was sitting on top of mud bricks, but I left those in place just to remind myself of that fact. I don't know. I don't like that one. That one confused me. This one over here, it really does look more like a some kind of open pavilion, some kind of meeting place. But there was an awful lot of mud brick. Let's see how much was in here. A lot for this space. If this was an open thing, then I feel like there might have been a top on it that could possibly have been mud brick. But this is definitely feeling like an outdoor meeting place. Let's see, this building over here, to me this is starting to feel like stables. So we have these 3 open chambers that are facing the street, and there's actually podzol underneath this, and there was some wheat that was found. This could potentially be stables to house people's horses, and that could be feed from those horses. This could potentially be water for those horses, and this could be maybe some I don't know, some other maintenance to do with that. I'm not sure what those two could be, but that's what this right here is starting to feel like to me. Come across the street here. We can see that this floor is probably all this polished stone or smooth stone. And again, this cobblestone is probably decayed versions of that. We got a workbench here, right here in the middle of this. So this is probably a toolsmith that worked here. And this back room is most likely a workshop for this. Okay. Let's see. Let's go to this neighboring building here. So this one is looking like the entire floor was red brick. And I'm feeling like this red sand is broken up versions of the brick. So the reason why I'm thinking that, so we talked about the mud brick and the way it kind of decays back down into dirt because it's really just dirt and organic material. Whereas bricks are a lot more solid. They're more stone based, I guess. And they don't decay so much as they crumble. So I think over time, with friction and stuff, they could crumble. And to me, that red sand kind of looks like maybe crumbled bricks that might be being crumbled into powder. So I'm thinking that all of this was probably originally red brick. This right here, so this building is interesting to me for a couple of reasons. This feels like this might be somewhere where they were manufacturing some of the goods. Like manufacturing terracotta, dyeing it different colors, maybe carving quartz blocks here. So this feels like this is manufacturing right here. And again, this is an architectural piece that I didn't want to lose. I think this looks like a very deliberate design. Possibly that was a chunk of wall that had fallen down. So these stairs, I would find them kind of littered about, and it could just be that they were meant to be just broken up bricks, but I feel like it could be that the windows, this could be indicating that this is how the windows in these buildings were made. So I wanted to keep this architectural piece here just as a reminder of that. Let me come across the street. This one had nothing. It doesn't see. There's not even a shulker box for it. I have removed nothing from this entire section. This entire section is just cobblestone, how you see it laid out, and materials. This whole thing, so starting from this corner all the way across to here, this is feeling like a bit of a marketplace, right? And it looks like market stalls. Looks like, carrots and wheat, potatoes, pottery, more pottery, and this could just be broken up pottery, cut stone, iron. We come over here, we got like glass and candles. These bones could be potentially pieces of meat that were, of course, all rotted away and left the bones. We got dye and string. Over here you have, cut wood. And then we've got a few furnaces over here that could be potentially smelting a few things. So this bit right here feels like a bit of a marketplace. And I think the floor of this is probably just dirt. The stones probably end at that point. Now let's come over here to this little batch of buildings here. If we determine that this is a place where people lived, I believe this is housing. These look like individual houses. Now they look very, very small, but of course, back in the day, this could have been very roomy. And if you think about villager houses today, they're pretty small. It's enough room for a bed and a place to sit and stuff. And it's really just a place to go to sleep and to rest. This one over here. This feels like more housing to me. This feels like this is separate houses. So this might have been some of the artisans and stuff lived here, and this could be more like more dense housing, right? So you got more like apartments in a single building. That to me is what it feels like. Now there are workbenches in here, right? We have looms and we have the smoker and stuff. This could just indicate that this is just things that the people needed to live. This could indicate that there's actually work going on in these buildings. And that I'm not sure about. We'll have to figure that out. This to me looks like a lamppost that fell down. Right? So these look like, if you were to stack these up right here and then put a lantern on top, or maybe hanging two lanterns off of it, this looks like a fallen lamppost that maybe was mounted to this carved piece of stone. So if you go up the street here, you see these random carved, well, not random, but you see these relatively regularly spaced carved stone pieces. We've got one here. This looks like it could potentially have been a lamppost that was attached there. You have another one here with a bit of that wall attached to it. So this looks like this could be another lamppost that fell. And you have one here. I think that's about it. Oh, also over here in what I'm thinking is the market, there's one there and one there. So it could be that this could have been a dirt floor, but then they had actual lamps mounted there as well. This one confuses me. This feels like there's really no reason to have a paved road out here. There's no other indication that there's a paved road. This could have been a lamp, but it feels very random. It's just kind of in the middle of nothing. So I'm not sure what's going on with that one. We can think about that later. So that's what those are feeling like to me. Let's see. What else did I really think about while I was here? Okay, so now we have these buildings here, these white buildings. Of course, these obviously are quartz pillars. It looks to me like this one in particular, you can see they're regularly spaced here, 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 here. They seem very regularly spaced. And then it looks like this is one that maybe fell down intact. So I think this is an indication of the height of these pillars, right? So each pillar had a base, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a carved top. So I feel like each one of these pillars were most likely this tall with a carved piece on top. Let's see. Now, I'm getting a little bit confused with these buildings. So we'll assume that this is one building that just has two. It's like one building with a wall in between them. And as far as its uses, I'm not too worried about that at the moment. I'm just thinking of the architecture. So these walls are calcite. Okay? We go around and the walls are just solid calcite. Everything is calcite in these walls. I believe these walls are intended to be 100% calcite based on this. And a lot of this is just pieces of the wall falling down. Now, when you come into this one, you see an awful lot of the raw diorite laying around. A lot of it is slabs. And again, some stairs and some interesting patterns. Could this be indicating, could this diorite be indicating broken up calcite? I don't know. I don't know how to interpret that. That could just be more wall material, and it's just it was calcite, and when the calcite fell, it got damaged, and then that's just the damaged calcite. But if I come over to these other rooms, this one in particular, this one has polished diorite. Not raw diorite, polished diorite. So that's a little different, right? This looks a lot less like crumbled pieces of wall. This looks a little bit more intentional. And I'm not sure how to interpret that. Oh, there's another piece we need to brush out with our brush. I'll get that in a minute. Now there is one sitting on top of this wall. So it could possibly be that this diorite, this carved polished diorite is just part of the walls. I don't know. Not sure how to interpret that. If I come over here, we have some polished diorite laying around, but then we have more of it, but this is actually inset in the floor in a pattern, right? So it's looking like it's kind of a checkerboard pattern with this, what is this called again? Basalt. Basalt and polished diorite. But then that doesn't answer the ones that are kind of laying on the floor, like this piece here, these pieces over here, these pieces over here. So I'm not sure how to interpret those, but I still feel like to get a good feel for these rooms, that stuff does need to be cleaned up a little bit. Oh, and of course, all of this like glazed terracotta and gold. My first thoughts is that might have been what was being stored in this room. But now I'm thinking that this could be something like, boy, I don't know. Maybe interior walls. Maybe this is some kind of decorated place like a temple or something. It obviously had probably some stained glass windows and stuff. But I'm not sure exactly, like, I don't think this was the roof because there was plenty of the tiles found in this one as well. The black, whatever, deep slate tiles. So I still feel like this had the deep slate tiled roof. So I'm not really sure what's going on with all of this, but I believe this is laying on the floor, right? So if we were to remove a piece of that, yeah, see, there's still flooring up underneath that. So, oh boy, I probably shouldn't have removed that because I don't know how it was sitting. Might not be important. I'll look at my pictures from earlier if I need to. So yeah, so I'm not sure how to interpret that either. And I don't know if I want to clean it up because it could be in a specific pattern. So I'm not sure about that. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up this broken up diorite. And I'm going to clean up this polished diorite because it does look like there's a floor underneath it that's a different material. So I'm going to clean those up and then we'll consider this initial cleanup done. All right, let me do that real quick. Alrighty, I think I am done with the cleanup. I cleaned up all the diorite. I do now believe that the diorite is just degraded calcite. I believe that's what's going on. Now, why it's polished in here and in here, but unpolished here, I'm still not certain. We can figure that out later. So I cleaned up everything. I cleaned up all of the diorite and the calcite that was on top of the floor. So basically anything that was covering a floor block I picked up. So we're now seeing the layout of these buildings. Okay, so you kind of have this main... Oh, I also picked up the columns. And also some of these walls over here that had fallen down. Oops, let me remove... They were laying down on these dirt blocks here. I believe that kind of like the columns, that had been wall pieces that had fallen down. So I went ahead and stacked those up as well. So we're seeing now, the footprint of this thing. It looks like, oh, I actually uncovered a wooden door leading into the side of this one. So this is nice to know that this style of door was used in here. Okay, so that was the way into this room. It looks like in this complex here, there's these two buildings. Oh, you know what? This back end. Oh no, that's a wall. See, because there's no floor. There's no flooring underneath it. So you would, I'm guessing you would come up the main street here, and you would come up into here, and you would walk down here, and you could either go into this room here, which seems to have a lot of pottery shards, books, and a lectern. So this could be some kind of a storage facility or something, or some kind of accounting. And then you come down here and there's another doorway into this one, which has more pottery shards and a cartographer's table. And these buildings have some of the stained glass in them as well. This side building has an entrance going in this way. I'm still not sure what to do with all these colored blocks here, so right now I'm just going to keep them laying down there. There are floor blocks up underneath those though. So these were definitely not part of the floor. These were something else. It could have been a wall that fell in. It could have been something that was suspended on perhaps these columns here. I don't know. That's something I still need to figure out. This building here, it becomes very clear what the floor plan of this building is once you remove all of the calcite that was down on the floor. This seems to be like some kind of outdoor courtyard with some calcite pillars holding up some kind of roof or something. And then this was the entrance into this building. You kind of have this main entrance here. Kind of these wide entrances into this section here with a small back room. This has two small back rooms accessible by this one door here. And then, of course, you have what looks like cleric supplies back here. I did look inside this chest. Nothing's in this one either. I was really hoping for some treasure. And this building has a double space way out into this courtyard. I don't yet know what the purpose of this courtyard is, but seems pretty important. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do, I know this has been a very talky episode. You haven't been seeing me do much. You've just been seeing me float around talking about things. But I think what I'm going to do to wrap up this episode, I'm going to fix the floors. Okay, so I can determine from this one that the floors of these buildings were sandstone. And you can kind of tell that when there's a doorway, that flooring comes out the doorway. So these two front ones look like the doorways are facing the street. These over here, if you consider that they're both probably the same, their doorway is most likely here, facing each other. This one could be facing out that way, but then this one actually has a block in that center spot. And then these two back here, most likely facing the center as well. So using some of that, and now these over here, I'm not really certain. So it looks like this one probably has maybe two entrances into it, possibly a third. And then all of these other rooms seem to be interior rooms. So this is probably the same. It has one entrance here. Still not sure if these middle ones have an entrance, but this is most likely, this right here is most likely one of those. So, yeah, so I'm still not... See, now, if you think these are mirror images of each other, this wall is probably intact, like that one. And this one probably mirror each other as well. The only thing is I can't tell is if there's an entrance into this center one or not. So I'm going to make some assumptions like that as I'm fixing these floors. Oh, another thing I wanted to talk about was charcoal. Charcoal, yeah. as you can see, there's a lot of charcoal, right? We got charcoal here amongst these buildings here. We have a lot of charcoal in these buildings. And my first thought was this is fuel, right? Because every once in a while you find a furnace or something. And let's see. You see some charcoal spread out amongst this area here, including around these furnaces. Here you have charcoal back here in this room, a whole lot of it. Here, there's a lot of charcoal here as well. Charcoal there. Charcoal here. And here. And lots of it in here. Okay? Now, that's charcoal. Not everything I found was charcoal. Every once in a while, I would find a piece of coal. So these are coal in a place that feels like a manufacturing spot. Okay? These are actually coal, not charcoal. And there was one other place. I know coal and charcoal look very similar, but charcoal has the lighter spots in it, so it's easier to recognize. In this room here, it's coal. So this is coal, coal, and coal. Everything else is charcoal. I think there's a reason for that. I think there's a really good reason for that. Do you have any guesses what that could possibly be? I think this is further proof of those roofs being wood. See, every once in a while you have an intact piece of wood, but you also have a whole lot of charcoal. So I'm actually starting to consider the possibility that this place suffered a tragic fire. So why am I thinking that? So what's the difference between coal and charcoal? Coal is, found deep in the earth, and it's kind of mined out like a rock. It's formed through like carbon deposits that have been crushed in the earth for tens or hundreds or millions of tens or hundreds of thousands or even millions of years. And charcoal is basically, burnt wood. Obviously burnt in a very specific way, but still, it's burnt wood. So I'm thinking where we see all of this charcoal. Where we see all this charcoal, I don't think that's necessarily indicative of it being used as fuel for anything. I think that is indicating that there was a tragic fire that ended the residency of this ruin. So yeah, like I said, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix up all of these floors. I explained earlier how I think some of the blocks are degraded versions of other blocks, and I'm going to use other ways to determine what blocks go where, just through spacing and if I can see evidence of the way they're placed in other parts of the floor. But I'm going to go ahead and do that as a time lapse. So let's go ahead and roll that right now. Okay, well I have now cleaned up all of the floors, and I think I did a pretty good job of it. Now there were holes in some of these, And sometimes those holes could be meaningful, like they could be holes that maybe, say, a wooden post was in. But none of the holes that I saw seemed to be in any kind of regular pattern or location. So the holes that I found, I ended up filling in. That may be a mistake in the long run, but I just had to make a call on that. And it really didn't look like there was any pattern to any of the holes. So I think what I want to do right now is, well, I want to make another map and see how this looks now on a map. And then I think after that, we can start the actual reconstruction. So let me go ahead and map this out and see what this looks like. And here, and here, and there. Okay. Well, that looks a lot nicer than this one. This one still looks pretty messy. You still have all the debris on everything. And then this one, all that's nice and cleaned up, and you can see the floors and you can see the floor plans. All right, well, I think that's a good place to end this episode. Next episode, we're going to get to the actual reconstruction. I'm going to try to figure out what these walls and roofs and stuff may have looked like. That's going to be a pretty exciting one because right at this point in time, I have no idea how I'm going to go about doing that. But before I go, I'm going to again give you a nice overhead shot of the ruins. And again, take a look at these rooms now that they're cleaned up a little bit. And again, see if you can figure out what those rooms were used for and how you might go about rebuilding them. And if you have any ideas, drop them down in the comments. I'd love to hear those ideas. Again, there won't be any spoilers because by the time this video comes out, we will have finished the challenge. Alrighty, well, I will see you next episode. Bye-bye.